This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation, welcome to episode 13 of NWA Crock and Roll. I am your host, Shawn Kidd, and we have had roughly a week to recover from our markout moment of having Nikita Koloff on the show. But before we jump into it and talk about what we will be discussing tonight, let me introduce my co-host. First up, I am going to start with the newly anointed Calum Koloff. Calum, how are you this evening?
Shawn Kidd, I am wonderful this evening. How are you?
I am much better now that you're talking like a Russian.
I thank you once again for having me on. It's wonderful. And tonight we are going to announce our first rotating fourth Russian.
We will indeed. So everybody, welcome Calum Koloff to the show. Dr. G, how are you doing this evening? Have you recovered from last week's episode?
Ooh, I'll tell you, that was phenomenal. I think we all were having a hard time sleeping after doing that interview because he was just a great guy. And I'm looking forward to today's show. You know, it's just something, I didn't think we were going to get into, because what didn't fall into the range of the years we were covering. But I think it's important because it kind of builds up to the history of Starrcade 85. So really looking forward to seeing everybody's reaction tonight. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this one.
Yeah, I mean, when we started this podcast, I never imagined we would go back to what we're going to talk about tonight. But as I thought about it, and we're obviously doing Starrcade 85, I think next week it'll drop with another special guest, which we'll talk about later. But it made sense for me to think about, hey, what wrestlers have we watched so far that are actually in those shows? And so we'll talk about that in a minute. But I would like to introduce our fourth horseman of the evening and making his third appearance on NWA Crock and Roll, host of the Ruthlessly Aggressive podcast over on the North-South feed, Mr. Jacob Williams. Jacob, how are you doing tonight?
I hope I can at least be the Mongo. Hopefully I'm above Roma. I hope I at least get a Mongo spot. I'm excited to be back on. Like you said, I'm holding the record currently for most appearances here. And I like that you guys were like, we have a podcast that's 35, stuff that's 35 years old. And you said, you know what, not old enough. We need to go even further into the past. So I'm excited.
Yeah, so hopefully, I'm sure you'll have some great takes on what we're watching tonight, Jake. You always have some interesting thoughts and makes me laugh as well. So I am sure it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's talk about what we're going to be discussing tonight. Oh, and by the way, Jake, I actually do have you penciled in for another appearance, so you will have a fourth appearance over the next couple months. So just FYI. But anyway, let's talk about tonight. So as we were thinking about Starrcade, or I was thinking about Starrcade, I wanted to think about the prior Starrcades, and I had a thought of, hey, what wrestlers have we discussed on our podcast since we started in April 85, and I believe we're in 8 months now doing this podcast. What wrestlers were actually in the Starrcades prior? And go back and watch the matches the ones we've been watching and what they did in the prior 2 years as we lead up to Starrcade. So we're going to call this episode NWA Crock and Roll, Starrcade 83, 84, before Crockett, so BC. So is Crockett still involved? Yes, technically he is, but just pure markout moment. I'd like the term Starrcade 83, 84 BC because I thought it sounded cool and trendy, and I'm a geek like that. So that's what we're going to do tonight. So we are going to start with Starrcade 83. And again, we're watching select matches of individuals we watched in this podcast. So Starrcade 83, a flair for the gold. I mean, what more could say? I mean, we're not going to get too much into that particular history and in-depth conversation. We're going to talk more about the matches. So right out of the gate, what we'll talk about here is your world heavyweight champion is Ric Flair at the time. Your U.S. champion is Greg Valentine. Your tag team champions are the Briscoes. And your TV champion is the Great Kabuki. Now, we won't talk about the majority of these matches because, unfortunately, a lot of these guys aren't in our watch, in what we're watching in 85. But Ric Flair is still the world champion. And One thing that did happen at this Starrcade was Kabuki lost the TV title to an individual named Charlie Brown. Dr. G, any idea who Charlie Brown was?
Yes, unfortunately. It's our pal, Jimmy Valiant.
So is Jimmy Valiant. So here's how I got out of the Jimmy Valiant, at least for Starrcade 83. Unfortunately, we don't get out of it on the next one. He was in a mask, and he's playing a character. And I said, you know what? He's not technically Jimmy Valiant here, so I'm going to skip the Jimmy Valiant match on this show. So I would hope that all of you are happy that we did that. Would you all be aligned with that?
I'm right with you on that one.
You're not going to get an argument out of me with that one.
All right, Jacob.
You're telling me Charlie Brown and Jimmy Valiant are the same person? Blow my mind.
Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to break kayfabe there. I'm sorry that happened.
Spoiler.
Was that? No. 38 years of kayfabe I just destroyed for poor Jake.
The next thing you'll be telling us is Miss Atlanta Lively's Ronnie Garvin or something. Come on.
All right. Anyway, we'll talk more about that on next pod. so we're gonna jump right into it. So Starrcade 83 was on November 24th, 1983. It's at the Greensboro Coliseum, and the announcers are Gordon Sully and Bob Cottle. So a really nice commentary group here. So our first match we're going to watch tonight is Abdullah the Butcher versus Carlos Colon. And obviously we've seen a lot of Abdullah on this podcast. Carlos, not so much, but for anyone that's a wrestling fan, just for perspective, this feud was really big in Puerto Rico for years. And they said that the match at this point has been banned in Puerto Rico. And Carlos has come over to challenge the Butcher, and here's where we are. So we'll jump right into the match. Then I'll ask for your thoughts and your rating on the match. So there's a lockup to start. The Butcher immediately gets the foreign object from his tights and goes to Carlos Colon's throat. He does some headbutts, chokes, throat chops. He does one headbutt, and he actually, for a big man, he used the bottom rope to leap up and hit the headbutt, which I thought was really cool looking, and I'm surprised the rope actually held him. Abdullah did a clothesline and an elbow for two. There's more chops and headbutts. Carlos fights back with punches. Carlos then gets the object from Abdullah and hits Butcher repeatedly in his head and starts biting him, and then blood starts gushing, and he shoves the object in Butcher's mouth, which made me laugh. There's a lot of punching and kicking. Abdullah was running the ropes, which was really, really funny. And Carlos does a leg drop for two. Abdullah kicks out, and Carlos lands on the ref. Abdullah goes for the elbow while Carlos is on top of the ref, and Carlos moves, and Abdullah kills the referee, and that made me laugh as well. And the crowd as well was really freaking out over that. That was really good. Carlos fires up a drop kick, works the leg, goes for figure four, but Hugo Savinovich, I guess his name, runs in, hits Carlos Colon with an object, ref recovers, and Butcher pins Carlos for the win. The finish was really random, and the announcers are trying to sell why we should care about Hugo, but I don't think any of us really did. But I like a good brawl, and I will tell you, Abdullah made me laugh quite a bit while he bled profusely. So it wasn't much of a match. It was shorter than 5 minutes, but I was entertained. I actually went 1 star. So Jake, I will go to you first. What did you think of Abdullah versus Carlos?
So you said you like a good brawl, and I do as well. Unfortunately, this was not a good brawl, so it didn't check that box for me. Like you kind of alluded to, it's like you're not expecting some technical masterpiece, but even as a kind of a bloody brawl, I didn't think it was that great. I always refer to Abdullah's little object as like a spork or like a fork, because that's always what it looks like to me. I don't know if that's really what it is, but
it's almost like a fork or like a wrapped knife. Yeah. I mean, it's just such a weird looking object.
Yeah, it's so strange. But when the biting of the blood, I was like, man, any kind of pathologist or something is just like squirming right now. It's like textbook how to spread bloodborne pathogens in this match, just like putting your mouth on someone's bloody head, just kind of gross stuff. But it was, it was violent in that they were jabbing each other with the fork and stuff, but it was so slow. I don't find they ever really, it was violent in that they were bleeding, but to me it didn't even come off as like this like obviously what they were going for is like a bloody spectacle, and especially on this first Starrcade, I think they're really trying to do the variety show sort of thing, give you a little bit of everything on this show because it is like the ultimate super show. So I kind of get why they wanted it, but I don't even think it, like I said, to me it didn't really succeed at that because it just kind of felt very slow and plodding and didn't really even get across that it was a big spectacle. And like you said, even the finish was kind of random and out of nowhere. It didn't really get enough time to build anything. And even like it gets, like you mentioned, he goes through the figure four, which to me seemed completely out of place in this match. Like they're jamming each other with a foreign object, and out of nowhere he's trying to lock him in the figure four. And the only other note I had too is that like I was wondering if like, I mean, I guess they were planning a ref bump because they have a run in, but man, it looked like Abby like could have really hurt that ref. Like he fell right on his head. I was like,
it was
man,
savage.
that looks like, yeah, like I was like, he could snap his neck with his giant side boob things he has. But yeah, I went half a star on it, so I'm a little bit lower than you, Shawn, because it just didn't. It was so slow and plodding, and there wasn't really enough going on to really even make it entertaining as like a bloody spectacle for me.
No. Let me be clear. Let me re-clarify something. Half a star on the match. I went 1 star because I was entertained by Abdullah and his chicanery. Him running the ropes, him destroying the referee. Him just going to his tights right away. Like Abdullah the Butcher made me laugh. So you're right. The match is half a star. But I went 1 star all in because Abdullah he entertained me in this match for some reason. I don't know why. So, all right, Calum, what'd you think?
I'm the same as you guys. I had noted again that it was banned in Puerto Rico, and just a shout out to Matt Souza. I bet he wishes Jimmy Valiant and Kamala was as well. Bob Caudle calls. I don't know if anybody noticed it, but Bob Caudle calls Carlos Colon a young man, much like Gorilla Monsoon would try to do 10 years later. I've also got noted lovely fork action by Abdullah, and I was also grossed out by Carlos Colon biting the cut, because as we now know, Abdullah the Butcher has been diagnosed with hepatitis A through Z, and it really got me. It really got me. Gordon Soley's commentary really got me on this one as well, because you've got this run-in of the legendary Hugo Savinovich of Spanish announce team fame, and he's just like, oh, and there's Hugo Savinovich, and this is terrible. That's shocking. But yes, it would not be a shock to hear if you've listened to any other previous ones, anybody out there, that Gordon Soley's not my cup of tea. I don't mind. Obviously, people. I'm very respectful of other people's opinions that he's the greatest commentator of all time. Just not for me. But neither was this match. Half a star.
All right, so we're all on half a star except for my 1 star for the Abby shenanigans. So, Dr. G, what do you think of this match?
I gave it, like you, Shawn, I gave it 1 star. I remember this feud in the wrestling magazines. These guys were fighting forever. Yes, it was very slow and prodding, but I think I was entertained by Abdullah, because think about it. We've seen some Abdullah matches since we've done this watch. The sad part of it is this is probably the best of the worst, if you want to call it that. Because at least Abdullah was somewhat entertaining. Sometimes it's just, when we're watching some of those shows and on the Saturday night, I mean, he's so slow and so like, all he does is take out the spike, and, he doesn't really do much. Again, he's more of an attraction. That's why it's so surprising if he ever stays in an area very long, because after a while his act kind of gets tired. So, I mean, this could have been a better match, but you know what? I don't know. Again, maybe we're not getting the Abdullah thing, but we really haven't seen that much great stuff from him, and I don't know if we'll ever see any great stuff from him, to be honest. I mean, listen, you're not going to get a technical match, but at least give us a 2 or 3 star match every once in a while. But I don't think we're going to get that from him.
No, and I think our Abdullah run's pretty limited. I mean, I know when we do Starrcade 85, we're going to get the Great Sombrero match, I think, right, with him and Manny. So we'll definitely talk about him some more as we go along there. So
I mean, he was around more than I thought he was for that period of time, because he seemed like he was one of those like Bruiser Brody, Andre the Giant, where they moved around a lot, but he seemed to be in this territory longer than I remembered at that time.
Absolutely, he was. So it sounds like everywhere from a half star to a star for various reasons. So still not the greatest things of all time by any stretch. So with that, we're going to go to our second match. And, this is going to be a match for me of two stories. So one is going to be the story of Calum and how he reacts to Wahoo in this match. And the other story for me personally is the tag team that Wahoo and his partner are facing. So this match is Wahoo and is it Mark or Jay Youngblood, guys? Was it Mark?
Mark.
Yeah, I think it's Mark. Yeah, Mark.
Mark.
Mark. Versus, thank you for that. I just put Youngblood and I forgot to write down Mark. So Wahoo and Mark Youngblood versus Dick Slater and Bob Orton. So Dr. G, one thing I want to ask you before we get into this, leading into this, Orton and Slater were a huge part of the angle and setup of leading us to where we get tonight with Harley Race and Ric Flair. As they were the bounty, that the guys that collected the bounty or tried to collect the bounty. Do you remember all this back from then, or were you not watching at that time?
No, I do remember the whole bounty thing, and Harley loved to do that. He did that in a lot of the territories he was in, especially when he was champion. But I remember. I don't remember specifics, so going back and watching this stuff is kind of jogging my memory a bit. But I do remember there being this whole thing with Orton and Slater for the trying to collect the money on the bounty. Again, Race loved to do that stuff, which was so funny because he could probably take care of himself. You know what I'm saying? But that's the role of being a heel, and that's why that's why he was so good at what he did. But yeah, no, I do kind of remember this. Is this jogging your memory at all, or?
No, but maybe. Well, yes, I do remember. Not from watching it at the time, but obviously I've watched that build up before. But what resonated with me is Dick Slater and how he's always involved in these bounties. So he was involved in the bounty before on Butch Reed, right? What we watched, and now he's always involved in these bounty angles for some reason. It's always Dick Slater, so I thought that was pretty funny.
He was a tough guy too, in real life. So
absolutely. And honestly, you're going to hear what I say at the end of this match. I really enjoyed him and Orton. Not so much their opponents, but I really did enjoy Orton and Slater in this match. So we'll jump right into it. So both Wahoo and Mark Youngblood have their headdresses on, and Orton's in a cowboy getup. So first note I made is there's no stigmas here at all with the Cowboys and the Indians. Then I laughed at the mic going out on the ring announcer as he was introducing a very special guest. Calum, who was the very special guest? Can you tell us?
It was the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, baby.
American Dream, Dusty Rhodes doesn't even get enough respect. One, not to wrestle on the show, but he can't even get a mic to work for him at this time. But he is the special guest here. Sully says he is clearly here to challenge tonight's winner of our main event. So we'll start out. Slater and Wahoo tie up to start. Wahoo throws Slater over the top rope and to a corner, and Slater has a lot of. One of the things I noticed about Slater that I really like, he has a lot of Terry Funk qualities in his mannerisms, and I love me some crazy Terry Funk. So I never realized that Slater had a lot of that. You'll see that later on in the match he's in, too, later on tonight. Wahoo works the arm, tags Youngblood, who drops his leg on the arm and goes into an arm bar. He gets a body slam off the ropes. Slater grabs legs and rolls on top for a 2, and there's more back and forth between the two of them. Slater is kicked out of the ring on a leg takedown. Slater gets back in and tags Orton, and Orton with a press slam almost into a nice backbreaker and tosses him aside. I was really super impressed by this spot because Bob Orton doesn't look like the epitome of strength, and I was pretty impressed by the strength in that. Later, Slater and Orton get a backbreaker elbow double team on Youngblood. Slater gets a gut wrench for 2 and tosses him outside where Orton works him over. The heels just take turns working Mark Youngblood, and I really like their teamwork in this. Slater hits a nice suplex for 2. Youngblood backdrops Slater on a backdrop Slater. Then they collide in the ring, but both get the tag. Wahoo chops and punches, noggin knockers to the heel. Wahoo does a terrible atomic drop that missed Orton, and Orton sells like it was the worst atomic drop of all time, like it just killed him. He hits a slam and an elbow for 2. Slater hits a nice back suplex on Wahoo for 2 himself. Heels continue the great tag work on Wahoo, and heels go for another double team, but Wahoo ducks, causing Slater to hit Orton by accident. We go to the end of the match, where Orton basically Slater pulls Orton's foot, pulls his foot on a missed drop kick, and it looks somewhat like it was off on the timing. The heels put Youngblood to top rope. Orton with a superplex for a surprise flat 3. So, here's the thing. For me personally, I don't think Wahoo and Youngblood were super that impressive in this match. Wahoo certainly wasn't. Wahoo looks like an idiot. He stumbled in the ring to make the save. He fought both heels, and then Orton jumps off the top rope while Slater holds Wahoo's arm, and Wahoo goes limp, so they basically go to break his arm. The faces really did nothing really except get their ass kicked. And I'm sure the ending to this point, we'll get to Calum, will give Calum the 5-star Wahoo match that he craves. So I enjoyed this match, but it was mainly because of the heels. I thought their teamwork was outstanding. I gave it 2.5. Calum, we will start with you since it is a Wahoo match. What'd you think?
It was a Wahoo match. You are absolutely correct, Shawn. First of all, I did notice that Bob Caudle was introducing the 2 guys who goes, there's 2 Indians in the ring, and then realised what he was about to say and stopped short of calling it Cowboys versus Indians. I'm the point here, keep Youngblood in the ring. For the love of God, keep Youngblood in the ring. And I was watching...
Hey, Calum, you're going to badmouth Wahoo tonight, and you're going to get absolutely no reaction out of me whatsoever, so you just go right for it.
Oh, how long have we got then? I've got free rein here. I made a note because I was watching Dick Slater and Orton as a team, and I was just thinking, like, after the whole John Stossel thing happened and Dr. D get shoved to the side, I wonder if there was any thought of bringing in Dick Slater to team with Orton and be part of Piper's entourage in the lead up to WrestleMania, like the original one. I think that because, correct me if I'm wrong, but did they not have a bit of a damp squib run eventually in 85 or 86? But he was a babyface.
Mm-hmm. And Slater went over to the WWF as a babyface. The Rebel, Dick Slater.
So I'm just wondering if it was. I wonder if there was any consideration whatsoever, because I think that could have been great. I mean, it was great as it was, but just add another wrinkle to it. The lack of Wahoo pleased me was my next note here. I did love the Orton and Slater team. And then I did note the peak Wahoo struggling to run the ropes and then couldn't take a bump on a double team. So excellent post match angle where with the arm breaking. Overall, bit slow, but Orton and Slater were a great team, and I have gone 1.5.
Oh, that's so low, man. So you hate Wahoo enough to let that compensate for what a great team Slater and Orton are. That's basically what you're saying.
Well, 1.5 is primarily because Orton and Slater were a great team. I just even the times where Youngblood was in the ring, it didn't do much for me. But Orton and Slater, give me more of that. Unfortunately, we won't get it, but I will. So where would they have been about at this point in time? Would they have been in Florida, or would they have been in Crockett at that point?
Who would? What? Wait, what do you mean? Like where are they at? Where?
Yeah. So if I was to go and see more Orton and Slater, where would I look? Would I look in?
You would
Crockett, or would I look at Florida?
You would have to probably go to. You probably have to look at 83 Crockett. I think Orton leaves. Orton actually later on. I think he goes on and wins the. I don't remember. He actually wins the World Tag Team titles with Don Kernodle at some point. But I don't remember when it is, Colin. To be perfectly honest with you,
I'll look at my good friend at Cage Match, and I'll try and look more of them out. But yeah, I think I do think I've got noted. I'm between 1.5 and 1.75 to be fair. So I'll give it you've convinced me. I'll go with the 1.75.
I still feel that's too low. Like I said, I went 2.5, but maybe I like the tag team more than I hate Wahoo. Dr. G, what'd you think?
I went 2 stars on this. I agree with. I mean, this when I was watching this, I'm like, oh, Calum's gonna have a field day with Wahoo
As
on
he
this one.
as he should have. I agree with him.
Yeah, this was definitely not one of his best. It did not seem that Wahoo and Youngblood really just had any chemistry, but Slater and Orton, nice, good, awesome team. I'd love to see Slater and Orton versus the Andersons.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
What
What a match that would be a hell of a match.
A great match?
Absolutely.
So that's what I was thinking when I'm watching it. I'm like, wow, they would be great against the Andersons. So yeah, I gave it 2 stars just based on the great teamwork of Slater and Orton. And to be honest, I mean, they would have been a great tag team champion, world tag team champions, because they really had a great chemistry. But I don't know if it's just that they had a great chemistry because Wahoo and Youngblood didn't, or that it truly was. No, I think it was truly. That's why I'm giving it 2 stars. These guys definitely made the match for me. Otherwise, I probably would be going more in Calum's range of rating. So 2 stars for me.
Yep. What could have been with that tag team? Jake, what'd you think?
Yeah, call me Mr. Positive because I'm closer to you, Shawn. I'm actually a little bit higher. I went 3 on it.
You know what? I probably would have, but I just couldn't do it because the faces were so weak. But I agree. I'm with you. I keep going.
They
Sorry.
were, but for me, to be fair, this kind of like anytime you do this like style of tag match, this kind of old school style tag match, and as long as you don't really screw it up, it's almost like an automatic 3 for me. And for the same reasons y'all said, the heels really carry the whole match. I do think Youngblood is good, and from what I've seen, both Jay and Mark Youngblood, I kind of like them as sort of pretty solid like baby faces. I didn't think Wahoo. I mean, I don't have a ton of strong opinions about Wahoo because I guess I haven't seen a ton of him, but he was fine for me in here. My main thing with him is that he sort of his main screw up for me was in the end, how he timed the ending. I thought was probably the most he hurt the match because I think this is where he kind of goes to break it up, but he's like the timing of it is like he almost goes too quick and has to slow down, and it just kind of throws off the finish just a little bit. But
yeah, it looked really bad. Like Wahoo looked really bad in this.
It's disappointing because in this style of tag match, like I said, it's so much about timing, and when it's really clicking, it seems like everything is going so smoothly. So to see the timing and the finish get screwed up is a little disappointing. But yeah, the heels are really awesome in this. When they were in control, they had nice control sequences. Like they had a nice heat sequence on Youngblood that was really good. And even like when Wahoo does get the hot tag, they cut him off. And so they do a lot of the heavy lifting. And even when the faces are on top, they do a really good job. Like you mentioned, Shawn, it came to my mind too. Like Slater has a little bit of that funk stooging going on, and I think we see this on the other.
Yes.
When we get to 84 too, he does a lot of like heel stooging. So even if maybe the face team is not the greatest, I think they make up for it even when they're selling because they kind of try to make everything they're doing look good. So I really, like you guys said, I really enjoyed them as a team, and to me it was a perfectly good kind of this sort of style of old school sort of NWA tag match that I tend to enjoy a good deal. So I enjoyed it. I went 3.
Oh, see, this is why I bring Jake on the podcast. He's a man of fine taste. Unlike Calum, who's going to hate Wahoo so much, he's going to like make the match worse than it actually is.
You keep talking, kid. I will sickle your head off.
All right. Our next match and the final match we're going to watch from Starrcade 83 is considered by many a classic, and I know is on many people's greatest wrestling match, NWA WCW match of all time. It is Ric Flair versus Harley Race. So the first note I made is the national anthem by James Tiny Weeks, and the first note I made is that it kind of sucked, and he looked like Great Value Conrad Thompson. What'd you guys think of James Tiny Weeks singing this anthem? Jake?
I didn't have a ton of strong opinions because I guess I focused more on the match. I know what you're talking about, though, because I don't know if you even watched it for this watch of it, but I've seen this before. And it always just strikes me, too, that it's just kind of odd that they would do it at this point, you know? I think that's always what stands out to me. Like, yeah, because you think of it as like a beginning of the show thing. It's
that's the thing that stood out to me is you do the national anthem on your main event, and then it's Great Value Conrad. Hey, and Calum, any thoughts on this? Because I know we're always taking pot shots at the Podfather.
I only recognise one Podfather, Shawn Kidd, and he doesn't come from Alabama. It's a great value, Conrad Thompson. I mean, the poor guy. I mean, it's Dr. G that does the impression, but that comment was savage.
Dr. G, any thoughts on the national anthem?
I didn't understand why they would do it at that point in the time, but yeah, he was a great value, Conrad Thompson, no doubt about it.
All right. So that comment was for the true Podfather, Scott Criscolo. So Scott, hopefully you hear that and you enjoyed that little pot shot. So anyway, so we'll go back to the entrance. Flair comes out, and basically for me, this entrance is like a disco ball and strobe lights, and I thought this was pretty funny. He's in his light blue sequin robe, and the crowd is just going nuts. So I guess for 1983, non-WWF, this is a big entrance. The cops are all around Flair on his way to ring, and it seems like everyone wants a piece of Ric Flair. The race comes out. He's no Flash, comes out in like a boxing blue and red robe. Looks like a total badass. He's big-gutted, barroom fighter with like some sick headburns. And Gene Kiniski is the referee, who is just a terrible ref in this match and is very annoying. And before we start the match, the announcers discuss the cage and angle that led to this, like we talked about a little bit earlier with the bounty. So before we start the match, I will go to Dr. G. Any thoughts on the entrances between Flair and Race? What a wide guardrail to guardrail spectrum on both these guys in terms of an entrance.
Well, this is big because, they weren't known for these kind of entrances back then. So this was it definitely had that big that big feeling, big show feeling. And the crowd, I mean, just in all these matches, were into this show the whole time. I mean, they picked the right place to do it because this was I mean, I know we're calling it before Crockett, but this was Crockett territory. Mm-hmm. And obviously when Flair comes out, this is Flair country. So everybody was going crazy, but I just love the feeling when they had the cops around them. It just makes it feel like, how like even in the Rocky movies, they always, in the introductions, they always had the cops, coming out with the boxers. Well, same thing here with, with Ric Flair. I wouldn't be surprised if it was kind of taken from the movies. They wanted to give it that big feel of, This is the big show. This is the biggest show ever in wrestling. And you know what? It's probably one of the biggest shows in wrestling up to that point.
I agree.
Because they really, really touted this show as being, not only just a territory show, being a worldwide show.
Yep. Jake, any thoughts on the entrances of Harley and Ric Flair?
Yeah, I love it. I think with modern eyes, like the Flair one can look a little strange. Like with them kind of zooming in on this like disco ball and all that looks a little, I think, hokey now, but I think it still works really well. And it just feels so epic. And like Dr. G said, it's especially for the time because it's pre-WrestleMania. Like, wrestling hadn't gotten to the point where like entrance music and all that kind of stuff was really a thing yet. So it's kind of ahead of its time, and it just makes the match feel so big because like a lot of the matches on this show, you don't even really see the guys walk out. They just cut to them and they're in the ring and they introduce them. So it definitely made it feel special. And it just has that big fight feel that they were going for. I think they did a good job of accomplishing that.
All right, and thank you, Jake. And Calum, any additional thoughts on the entrances?
Yeah, I thought everything built to the big fight feel. They had the music, which would eventually become Ric Flair's entrance. That just seems like as if it was the warm up to signify that this is the main event, and it just got the juices flowing. I would say just to pump the crowd up. And yeah, you couldn't have two polar opposites. You've got the Flash of Ric Flair, you've got Harley Race coming down to the ring, who's looks as hard as nails and looks as if he wants to fight each and every single person that's in the crowd, and probably could. So it was, yeah. So I just for 1983 standards, this is probably as grand an entrance as you could ask for. So it just added to the spectacle of the whole thing.
All right, so we get out of the entrance and we get the bell rings and Flair does a woo and gets a headlock. It doesn't immediately take down. It's kind of a slow start as Flair takes a headlock, goes into a chin lock until Race hits a nice knee to the face off of the ropes, but then he misses a standing headbutt. Flair goes back to work in a headlock, then does a front face lock, which Harley powers into a suplex, which I thought was a really cool looking spot. Harley works over Flair with his knees to the head. That absolutely looked great. Harley hits a nice pile driver and elbow for 2. Race gets a neck breaker for another 2 count, more knees to the head and neck. Then he throws Flair repeatedly headfirst into the cage, does a modified power slam. Flair is now bleeding at this point. Kiniski gets on Race while he's in the corner, which allows Flair to punch Race and work Race over some, but Race gets him down with another headbutt. I felt like at this point, and I think we'll talk about this in what your guys' perspective is, for a cage match, Kiniski gets involved way too much. Like, he, for me, actually takes the match down from a rating standpoint when we get to the end because he's very annoying. Flair throws Race into the turnbuckle in a rope reversal. Race is busted open and thrown into the cage. Flair drops the knee and pile driver of his own for 2. He gets back up and does one of those Zeus kind of neck spins on Race's neck. Kiniski gets in Flair's face as well. Again, he's so annoying. Race later is doing the old cheese grater to Flair's head into the cage. That looked absolutely savage. Flair later gets a back suplex and a figure 4, but it's reversed out to the ropes. Flair at this point is just a dripping bloody mess. Harley gets another suplex for 2. They go back and forth on offense for a while. Harley at one point accidentally headbutts Kiniski, which I made a note was well deserved. He deserved it because he was a pain in the ass. Flair goes to the top, but body press, and Harley actually trips over the ref, and the ref is trying to get up, and he does the slowest damn 3 count I've ever seen. So it's kind of would have been a cool spot where Flair goes up top, does a body press off top, and Harley trips over the ref. But that was kind of a neat spot, but damn, it was a slow 3 count, and Kiniski kind of ruined the ending for me. After the match, the faces are out to celebrate, and Flair thanks everyone on mic, which was a really nice moment. This match overall was very, very good. I hated the ref, and like I said, honestly, I hated the ending. It just wasn't necessary how the ending went down. The refereeing wasn't necessary. It actually took it down a lot for me. But it was 26 minutes of just a war, and I still went 4 stars, but this easily could have been 4 1/4, 4 1/2 if it weren't for the ending and the ref. So, Dr. G, I'll go to you first. What did you think of this match?
Everything you said there, I totally agree with you, so I'm not even going to repeat that part of it. And I did give it 4 stars myself. Kiniski just totally ruined it, ruined the match. But you can't take that out on the wrestlers who worked really hard,
exactly,
to really put on a great show. So
yeah, don't be like
hurts the rating a little bit.
Yeah, don't be like Calum, who did that because of Wahoo on the tag team match. So I appreciate that.
Calum, you're never gonna win. Even though you were allowed to rip Wahoo, you still don't win.
Well, he's still underrated. He still underrated the match. I mean, that's not fair to the other guys. Kind of like, see, Dr. G, you're sensible, unlike Calum. You'll get your turn, Calum. Go ahead, Dr. G.
But this match is definitely one of the best matches during this era. Unfortunately, the refereeing kind of, and like you said, the ending could have been done a lot better, but obviously didn't have the right guy in the ring, trying to help. Just because you're a great wrestler does not mean you're a good referee. So, but I just love this match, and in Harley, just that big bruising style, and Flair and his great work in the ring and his his technical skills, but he could also brawl with you. That's the one thing you have to love about Flair. He could adjust to whoever his opponent is, and he and Harley had some great matches over the years, and this was one of them. And the whole thing when he gets on and thanks everyone at the end, that's what I'm saying. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Rocky movie, because they were building up a Flair for the gold, that whole process, in the advertising it. So, and having him come out with the police officers, that big grand entrance, and then obviously after he wins, getting on the crowd, because he was the face, and thanking the crowd. So that's just the feel that I got from it and watching it back again this time, and kind of like analyzing it a little more than I normally would. had I not been doing this podcast. I really, try to break it down, and 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I just wish I could have given it more, but good old Kiniski had to ruin it.
Yeah. And, it's interesting. As I watch these matches, like I've obviously seen Starrcade 83 and 84 before, but I think I've missed out on some of the good stuff. Like, I never imagined, like when I first watched this match, many times I've seen this match, I never really thought about rating it or ever. I was always pissed off at the referee, and I always thought the ending was hokey. But I never really sat back and kind of looked at it from wow, Harley Race was really freaking good back then. And because, the Harley Race I knew was the king in the WWF, and I think it's underrated. Like, it's a shame we don't get more of him in 85 so I could get more context of him. So I might go back and watch some of the older stuff. But he was really good in this. And, just a good, solid brawler. He could wrestle. And I watched this and I thought to myself, now I get it. Now I understand why he was the NWA World Champion. It made sense to me because I had never understood why he was really a champion. This match in itself really stands out to me about why he was and why he was that good. So, Jake, what'd you think?
Yeah, I'm roughly in line with you guys in that so if anybody's listened to me and Tyler do our GWCW, I apologize because I just talked about this match on there, so hopefully my spiel is not totally the same. But I fall into the camp of that Kiniski definitely hurts the match, but he doesn't ruin it. I know some people are the mindset that he completely ruins it. I wouldn't take it that far. The main thing, besides the finish, like you guys said, I think it would be better if they just kind of, because I guess the idea was to protect Harley a little bit and make it seem like he sort of tripped over Kiniski. But for the moment and what they were doing, I think you just let Flair go over completely clean. I don't think it hurts anybody. It fits the moment and everything. So the finish is kind of goofy. And the thing that bothered me most about Kiniski getting into the match, like you said, Shawn, it's a cage match, so that makes it especially stupid. Like, why is he worried about who's punching a certain way or anything like that? But then also a lot of times when because Flair takes a huge ass kicking in this match, like he really takes a beating. It's really awesome. I think it's no shock, a great Flair performance, and that he just feels like through this whole match, Harley's just beating him down. He gets thrown to the cage, he's bloodied, and he just keeps fighting back. He comes off like a warrior, and I think it's cool to see a face Flair performance because you're so used to these great Flair performances where he's a heel. So it's cool to see him kind of play this. Babyface warrior fighting through all this. And, but the problem is that Kiniski a lot of times is it comes off like he's the reason for Flair's like flurries or Flair's little like hope spots or whatever you want to call it. Like when Flair gets a little bit of advantage, it's because Kiniski kind of dragged Harley away by the hair. So it kind of takes away from Flair's sort of comebacks in the match because it always seems like he's almost getting helped. Like there's some points in the match where it's like they're double teaming and it kind of sucks because it puts Flair in a tough position because it's like Kiniski's holding Harley by the arms and Flair's hitting him, which kind of, makes it not come off as good. But I still really enjoy the match, but I'm in the same mind. I think it holds it back from being what could have been, one of the greatest matches of all time. Like in that sort of conversation, and it holds it to just being like a great match and not an all-time classic sort of match. But I still enjoyed a good bit. It's like, to me, it kind of reminds me of watch like an old like 70s NFL game where they don't really do much. Like it's really not flashy or anything, but it's just like them slugging it out the whole way, and it's really engaging the entire time. So I still enjoyed a pretty good bit, and it did make my list, just to let you know. But I went 4 stars on it as well.
All right, sounds like we're all on the same page. So Calum, bring us home on this one.
Well, I know you'll be waiting with bated breath, Shawn. So I'll just get my rating out of the way first of all. 1.25.
What?
No, I won't. No.
All right.
So, yeah, a couple of things. I'm in the camp that Kiniski just gets in the way. At one point, it looked as if Harley was he was getting really annoyed. I think at one point. So I don't. When you said he accidentally hit, you think he accidentally headbutts him. I think it was accidentally on purpose. I think he was trying to get him out of the way.
Well, I told you he was. I said it was well deserved.
So. Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, absolutely. My other thought on it was it was a cage match, and I felt like the cage was only there as a mechanism to get both guys to bleed. because they wrestled just their usual match for the vast majority of it, so it didn't necessarily need to be a cage match.
I don't think so. I think it was more of a culmination of the build and the bounty. I think it was more or less around making it feel like a big deal coming out of the build for it. I think probably more than anything. At least that was my take.
Yeah, and a bit of the way through it, I thought, well, if there was the bounty on Flair, you have the cage to make sure it is just going to be these two, and no one can interfere. In the end, the referee's the one that interferes, but that's less by design. What else have I got here? Yeah, I thought Kiniski wasn't too bad for the first part of the match, but then as soon as it starts to heat up, then it's almost like for a man who I did my cage match research, for a man who wrestled only 5 more matches in his career, it was as if he was trying to get himself over by like constantly getting involved, and it was completely unnecessary. I didn't take it. I see where Jake's coming from when he said they were trying to. The finish was as if Harley tripped over Kiniski for the finish. Now that does make more sense to what I've got. As the stupid fucker couldn't even move for the finish. It might Jake's reason behind it does make more sense. So I'll forgive that. So I went 3.5. I don't think it takes away the Kiniski factor does take away from it a wee bit. I will take away my comments about the cage because I've marked it down because they didn't utilise the cage as much. But I'll take that away now that we've spoken about it in the context of it. So I will bump my score up to 3.75 and not penalise it for lack of cage work. But yeah, it was still a very, very good match.
All right, 3.75 is acceptable, unlike that disgrace of a rating you gave to the tag team match. Just saying.
Well, you win some, you lose some.
All right, you're going to let me off easy on that one. How dare you? All right, so that finishes up Starrcade 83. So we're going to transition right to Starrcade 84. So the $1 Million Challenge, November 22nd, 1984. We heard about Dusty Rhodes earlier tonight where the mic went out on him. He'd be the next challenger. Well, here we are a year later. He's getting ready to main event his first Starrcade. And again, he'll main event in 85. But here we are, the $1 Million Challenge. The winner gets the belt and supposedly $1 million. So your champions now, your junior heavyweight champion is Denny Brown, who we have talked about and who we have seen. However, this match kind of came out of the blue and just like, oh, we're going to make Denny Brown our champion and he's going to fight. I think he fights Mike Davis, but he really wasn't a champion. He just kind of got handed the belt. So I didn't even put Denny Brown on this show. So for all you Denny Brown fans out there, I hope you're not disappointed that you don't get to watch Denny Brown versus Mike Davis. The TV champion, Tully Blanchard, which seems suitable. Your Brass Knuckles champion, Black Bart. So the Brass Knuckles Championship was another one that really didn't exist, but they wanted it to sound cool, and they wanted to have a good fight with him and Manny Fernandez. And that'll be the first match we watch tonight. Your tag team champions are American Dream Dusty Rhodes and the Bull Manny Fernandez. And obviously the tag team titles aren't on the line tonight because they are in these other matches. And Dusty and Bull actually beat the Russians for those titles, and you'll hear more about that story later on tonight in our tag team title match. Your world champion is Ric Flair. Your U.S. champion is Wahoo McDaniel. And your Mid-Atlantic champion is Cowboy Ron Bass. So in this swatch, we have Bob Caudle and Sully on commentary again. Tony is your backstage interviewer. We have another special ref again, which is a common theme now, and we'll see if he ruins this main event like our last one. In Smoking Joe Frazier, the boxer, and we are at the Greensboro Coliseum. So our first match tonight is Manny Fernandez versus Black Bart. It is for the Brass Knuckles Championship, and Bart, of course, at this point is managed by J.J. Dillon. And I guess for me, the way I looked at this match is there really is no Brass Knucks. It's more of a Tate Fist match, and there's no belt, there's nothing. And honestly, guys, I think after this match, there is no other mention of the Brass Knuckles Championship ever again on NWA TV. So for me, they say it's for a title, but really it's a Tate Fist match. So it was good to see. The other note I made to begin, it was good to see the Bull with that sombrero he will defend in Starrcade 85. That very golden special sombrero, if you guys remember Tony Schiavone talking about it. But anyway, really great long-term booking with Manny and his sombrero tonight. So we start the match. Bull intimidates Bart with his karate poses like he always does in his matches. It's a really slow start as Bull gets pot shots in with rest of the time is just a lot of stalling. Bull continues his karate poses. Bart gets in some shots, but Bull backs him down with karate kicks and punches. Bart busts Bull open with punches. And again, this match, guys, is so much punching and just blood. And then we add biting to it. Bull fires up, and I put, guess what he does? He punches. There's a swinging double punch that sends Bart over the top outside. Bart's now bleeding, and we get more punches. We now get diving punches and flying punches on top of punches. Bart comes back with more punches, and then we get a Bart elbow, and then Bart goes for his bull rope for JJ, but Bull rolls him up for 3. And we have a new brass knuckles champion, and Manny the Bull for Hernandez. I wrote, "Where's the belt?" And I said, boy, did this match freaking suck. I went a 1/4 star on this match. Jake, how about you?
I didn't think it was as bad as that. It definitely was nothing exciting.
It was all punches. It was all they did was punch.
Yeah, but they were okay punches. So it was that, you know what I mean? It wasn't like, the punches at least had some like life to them, and I guess it made sense for what they were doing. Look, I don't think it's a classic or anything. I went.
You might talk me into a half a star. Maybe. Oh, a star and a half. All right.
I would have star and a half just because it was just kind of, put it this way, a star and a half because there's just them like slugging the piss out of each other for a little while, which is good enough for something for me. So.
Wow, Jake, that was a lot higher than I would. You can maybe give me a half a star based on the brawling, but oh man. Okay, Calum, your thoughts?
Yeah. So I did make note. What a beautiful sombrero. Worth fighting for every day of the week.
I am very glad that you acknowledge the beauty of this sombrero as well.
How could I was overwhelmed? How could I not? Next note after that is fucking Black Bart. Honestly, the guy is worse than useless.
Is he worse than Wahoo?
I'll get back to you on that one.
All right.
No, I mean they're much of a muchness, really. I would say Wahoo's matches tend to at least, they tend to at least break the 1-star barrier. I don't think I've ever given Black Bart anything close to a star. The crowd was really hot to begin with, and I did note that the camera that they went to, the far away camera, was literally shaking at some points. So the place was obviously ready for a bit of Starrcade. I did feel really, really bad for Bull. And amongst all the punching, Bull did attempt a snapmare, which Black Bart couldn't even do properly. I think that's why they just kept going with the punches. It was an absolute dog of a match. I have gone half a star, only because Manny tried really, really hard to get a match out of that scrub.
All right, no argument for me on that one. Dr. G, your thoughts?
I have to say, this Brass Knucks Championship, we used to have one in Florida too when I was watching Florida.
I do remember that.
And Black Bart actually was, I think, a Brass Knucks champion. Yeah,
I am sorry. I am sorry for the state of Florida.
Yeah, I'm not as bad as I gave it 1 star. I didn't, think it was bad, but obviously I didn't think it was, worthy of a 1/4 star. But hey.
Well, I said I would be willing to go to half a star.
Yeah, it was. I don't want to say entertaining because that's not really the right word. It could have been worse, believe it or not. But it's just, I guess, because it's the Brass Knucks Championship, so you had to, fight with your fist the whole time. I don't know. It's
a take fist match. That's what it was.
It was underwhelming, I guess. I don't know what we were expecting to see, but it just seemed no flow to it.
Honestly though, what I expected to see? here's what because we have loved Manny Fernandez. Like, he has been an underrated wrestler in this pod when the matches we see. So I guess thought maybe I would get like a hidden gem kind of thing because Fernandez was in it. That's what I thought.
Yeah, Manny was a good hand. So yes, but because look at who he's in the ring with. He's in a ring with a brawler. So that's what you were going to get. You weren't going to get any kind of even semi-technical match going on there, especially because it's for the Brass Knucks Championship. But there's a way to do it to make it more entertaining, where it wasn't just throwing fists constantly. It was just like, you might as well just put gloves on and made it a boxing match. You know what I'm saying? It was just, I don't know. I couldn't get into it. I couldn't wait for it to be over, to be honest. It's not the worst match that I've seen. So
you went 1 star?
Yeah, I went 1 star just because I'm a mark for blood and I'd like brawling matches, but I think it could have just been done better. I don't mind having a good brawl match, but these guys could have done a better job, especially considering with Manny Fernandez being in the match.
Yeah, the other thing I was thinking about watching this match, and we've had nothing but not good stuff to say about Black Bart on this show. This guy will be a world-class heavyweight world champion in '86. I think he becomes a world-class heavyweight champion, so put that in your mindset for a minute. I don't know if you remember that, Doctor. Do you remember when he was world-class heavyweight champion?
Yes. You brought that back for me.
I know, but this is after this match. So everything we've seen in Black Bart up to this point, he becomes a world-class champion after this run, which blows my mind. Thank God I don't do a world-class podcast.
But is it not a sign of things that world class? Did they not just basically give him it because there was nobody else to take it? I mean, if Black Bart's your heavyweight champion, that says more about world class at the time than it does about anything else.
They must have needed a foil for the Von Erichs for a few months, so Black Bart drew the lucky straw, I guess. Anyway, so we're gonna go to our next match, which I don't think there'll be any disagreement in this match in terms of I'd be shocked if anyone, but I do. I actually think somebody, maybe it was this match or a hair match, was it Drew? I think Drew might have had their hair match, but not this one, but on his GCW Top 100. But anyway, this is a loser leave TV tuxedo street fight match, and it is between Jimmy Valiant and Paul Jones. So I wasn't able to avoid this one. So Kareem Muhammad is out with Paul Jones, and the assassin is out with Jimmy Valiant. Jones comes out in his outfit, and he looks like the Black Scorpion from 1990 Starrcade, sans his mask on the way to the ring, and it looks like he's accompanied by G.I. Joe, who is Kareem Muhammad. Assassin is also out in the tux, as is Jimmy Valiant, complete with a hat. Again, dancing around like an asshole per usual. He also goes up and kisses the ring announcer, and I just don't get it, guys. I'm going to say it one more time. Why do people like this asshole? And then the other thing I say, why are they in tuxedos? I just don't understand. So Valiant chokes Jones with a rope, and he ties his neck to the top rope that Jones sells like death. By the way, I will say I actually like the fact that he tied Jones to the top rope. I thought it was funny, and I thought Jones selling it was very funny, but no, this is not 4-star Jones. This is just something that made me laugh. Boogeyman beats him up and takes some of the ruffles from the tuxedo and shoves it in his mouth. Valiant then starts stripping him while beating him up, and then Valiant drops to his knees in front of Jones and starts pulling Jones' pants down to where Sully says, "We may have to cut away from this match," which I was dying laughing at this part because I'm thinking to myself, poor Gordon Sully, who's supposed to be Mr. Wrestling and Mr. Serious, basically has to watch Jimmy Valiant pull Jones' pants down, looking like he's about to perform something on him. Jones gets loose from the ropes as Kareem distracts Boogie, allowing him to knee him from behind. He beats Boogie up, and Valiant gets up, gets a sleeper, and then at this point, Jones is bleeding, but you can full on see Jones gigging himself for the blood, which was terrible and just awful the way he gigged himself. Kareem distracts Valiant, goes after him, and ref is hit. Assassin and Valiant beat up Kareem, and J.J. Dillon comes out and knocks Boogie out with a foreign object, and Jones covers for 3. And I put here, yay, Valiant has to leave, but then I realized, oh, wait, we still get to see him. So this was awful, guys, which was comic moments in it, but This was just trash. I went a total complete dud on this. Calum, your thoughts?
First note is, why must we be subjected to Jimmy Valiant just so Shawn can get his Paul Jones fix? I did think that if there was a fashion plate award tonight, Paul Jones would immediately have won it for the cape, looking absolutely resplendent on the way to the ring, and then the bell rang and it just all went downhill from there. Bob Caudle saying he is thoroughly looking forward to it, and I wish I could say the same. Bob Caudle outing himself as a complete and utter liar there. And I did make a note about Gordon Soley going, oh, well, we might have to cut away here, folks. It's I've got a funny feeling that Jimmy Valiant might actually try and take his cock and balls out on television. It was saying
Colin,
as if
we try to have a decree of kind of class on this show. I can't believe you just said that. You would never hear me say something like that ever.
never. Rory's not here anymore. I mean, I'm just going to bring it right back down to the gutter.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, he's talking as if he's about to fillet him, shall we say? And I'm thinking, well, he's not going to do that. And then I remembered it's Jimmy Valiant, and he does unwanted kisses to women in the front row. Who knows what the guy's going to do on television? It's I don't know what else. I mean, what's the point of being a tuxedo match if it ends in a pinfall after, and the man who's been completely stripped down to his undies is the guy that wins? It was just a bit all over the place. It was more of an angle to have. Basically, it was just more of a skit to get Jimmy Valiant to strip Paul Jones, and I never ever thought I'd hear myself say those words, and I feel a bit dirty, so I might have a shower during the break. This one was in dud territory from the very start, and never even got close to escaping it.
All right, Dr. G, I apologize for Calum's crassness. Apparently, becoming a Koloff has made him very angry. So, what were your thoughts
Different
on this?
sides. You know what? Yeah. He's got a little of that Russian attitude now.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Absolutely. So, Dr. G, what did you think on the match?
Well, you know how I feel about Jimmy Valiant. He is so over.
I can't understand.
Insane how over he is. I mean,
and even some of our
listeners
and some of the Place to Be Nation, like Chad Campbell and Drew, they love this guy, and I just can't figure out why.
I don't know either. I didn't really care for him when I was a kid, and I don't really care for him now. I gave this a half a star, and I think I'm kind of being nice.
Oh my God, you're so nice.
But I'll give it a half a star because you know what? I think the Gordon Soley comment probably gave it that half star. It's just because, like I said, I grew up watching Gordon Soley, so he's always so serious, and just the way he said that, you're like, and again, you probably wouldn't have even picked up on it back then, but now it's like, wow, okay, that's pretty funny, you knew where he was going with that, but yeah, I was glad that we were done with this match. When it was over, I was very happy.
All right, Jake, what'd you think?
Yeah, the commentary for this is funny because like Bob and Gordon are like, they're like Scotch. They're like so dry, and they have this like nonsense taking place, like you guys said with Gordon, where he's like, "Ladies and gentlemen, we may have to cut away as as Paul Jones is being stripped, possibly nude here." Like it's so funny just because he never. Like, no matter what this nonsense going on, neither one of them, like, really... I mean, Bob maybe a little bit. Like, Cottle does a little bit, but Gordon is just... He never gets past, like, a 2 of excitement, really, which is funny. It's so absurd that he blades in this. Like, on these early Starrcades, like, everybody has to bleed in every match, no matter what. Like, so they have a tuxedo match and they're blading, which is ridiculous. Yeah, it was just kind of like Paul Jones getting stripped. That was the majority of the match. And I also kind of... It threw me off a little bit because I was always in the impression this kind of match, like that Jimmy Valiant basically won it in the first like 40 seconds when he stripped him down, because I kind of thought that's how you win the match, but then they do a pin, so I thought that whole deal was kind of weird because I thought that was sort of the point of the match was just to strip him. But the the best I could do for it was go a half a star for the crowd heat, because it's hard to deny that it is over. It's not maybe my favorite thing in the world, but I guess you could at least understand why they keep coming back to him, because you can't deny the reaction. I mean, he really is over. So, but that's the most I could go. As far as a match, to me, there wasn't much going on. And to me, it should have ended in like 40 seconds. Like, just have Jimmy Valiant come, strip him, and move on with your day kind of thing. Let the crowd pop. And I don't know why we have to bleed.
So yeah, there's a lot of blood on these shows, but somebody, a psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever, someone needs to educate me on why Jimmy Valiant in this time frame is so well revered. It just blows my mind. And again, I get why you would keep having him on these shows if he's that hot of a ticket and he's getting people to buy in. Yeah, absolutely bring him back. But even on Starrcade 83, like where we didn't talk about the Charlie Brown match, he is so over as Charlie Brown in that mask. And he's over in everything we watch. And it's just, even in Puerto Rico, the damn guy was over. So I'm going to keep Jimmy Valiant on this show when he's in matches with main event talent, just so we can continue to study this phenomenon. But unbelievable, just unbelievable crazy however he is. And we'll probably say it every time he's on. But with that, we are going to take our break. When we come back, I think we have 5 more matches to talk about. We have a Mid-Atlantic title match, a tag team title match, a TV title match, a U.S. title match, and a world title match. So we will be back right after this. Place to Be Nation, welcome back to part 2 of episode 13 of NWA Crock and Roll with our special look at Starrcades 83 and 84. We are in the trenches now of Starrcade 84. We have gone over 2 pretty lousy matches at this point, and we are ready to jump into our next match, which is a Mid-Atlantic title match. And your champion is Cowboy Ron Bass and Dick Slater, who we talked about in the great tag team match earlier. That Calum underrated, which I'll bring up again. But, on paper, when I look at this match, I was like, this has the possibility to be a pretty damn good Haas match. Slater's been impressive in what we saw earlier. Bass, I think on our show, we have seen a couple good matches with him. I think he had a pretty good match that we all liked for the U.S. title against Tully. So we've seen some pretty decent stuff out of both of them. And I thought the possibility before watching this, hey, we might have a pretty decent match. So we'll jump into it. Slater gets quick control with chops and elbow off the ropes. Slater chases JJ outside the ring, and the crowd's going absolutely crazy for him chasing JJ. Slater gets advantage in the ring with a headlock. It gets an atomic drop and a headbutt on the mat. Bass comes back with an elbow to the back of the head and the knee. Punches with Slater between ropes, and Slater does the rock back and forth spot, and JJ gets some cheap shots in at the same time. Bass gets a suplex and then throws Slater outside. JJ puts some boots to him out there. Slater reverses a Bass charge into a corner and starts punching. Then for no apparent reason, he throws the ref aside, hits a back suplex and covers. JJ's in, but Slater hits a body slam on Bass and leg drop and covers again. The ref DQs Slater for tossing him. Slater beats up Bass and JJ after. That's literally the gist of what happened in this entire match. Pretty blah. Wasn't great. And I was so disappointed because this is another match on paper I thought could have been really, really good. I went 1 star on it, but I couldn't go any bigger on this match. So I will go over to Dr. G. What did you think of this match?
I did 1 star too. I thought this had the makings of a pretty good match. They did too much with the shenanigans with J.J. Dillon. It was a little much. It's nice at certain parts of a match when you have a manager and you're trying to do that whole heel thing of when you throw them out the ring, you kick them, but I don't know, it's just too much JJ involvement for me, and I love JJ, but I thought they kind of overbooked it. It didn't need to be that difficult, and the whole the ending with him tossing the ref, Slater tossing the ref, which was kind of a weird. I don't know. I didn't like the way they booked that. It really kind of made no sense to me, to be honest. And yeah, I was just kind of blah. I mean, it wasn't like the worst match I've ever seen in my life or anything like that. It didn't meet the expectations that I expected.
Yeah, I say like super disappointed because, like I said, we've seen these guys in some pretty decent matches, and man, this could have been really, really good. Jake, what did you think?
Yeah, I'm same. It was a very meh match for me. The finish was meh. I thought Slater was okay. Like we said earlier, he's doing his stooge around, which it's always fun to me when you see these older guys, because you hear this a lot with like modern wrestling, that the guys kind of oversell things and they're melodramatic and everything. And then you see like Slater like hopping around on the apron, like bobbing his head around like a lunatic. But I enjoy it. But I'm just saying, like, for some people, I always find it funny. So is this almost like heel versus heel? I want to ask y'all because I feel like y'all might know better.
Slater,
like the context of this.
Yeah, Slater's the face at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. So see, this is weird because, like, watching it, I couldn't really like catch that because it almost looked like Slater was doing like some heel stooging. Like, so that whole dynamic, I didn't think came across well in the match. I definitely didn't think Bass came across very convincing as a controlling heel, and he hasn't in other things I've seen from him. He's the guy I'm always disappointed with. Like, I always want him to be better than a lot of the stuff I see from him, because he seems like he would be. But yeah, and like they just tried to get a sense that this was supposed to be some big grudge match, and it just never connected. Like, it just didn't show in that. And I know this is probably like might be controversial, Shawn, because I'm rating it lower than the other match, but I at least thought the Tate Fist match accomplished maybe what it was sort of going for, like just some guys punching each other. Where I felt this match, I gave it a star. It's a bit lower than the other one just because it was so disappointing. It just kind of felt all over the place. It never really clicked for what I felt like they wanted it to be.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely a 1-star match. I mean, I think that's kind. Calum, what do you think?
Sorry, I couldn't find the unmute button there. It was. I had high hopes for this one compared to the two matches we'd watched before it. I picked up on what Jake did about Dick Slater. I thought that at some point was heel versus heel, because you had the strange point where Slater was outside, and you've got Bass telling the referee to get him in. So it was almost as if Dick Slater was playing a chicken shit babyface, which is like was really, really bizarre. I did expect a lot better from it. I went higher than everyone else. I went 1.5.
Wow.
But because I think it was because it was a better match than the two before it. I think I might have graded it slightly higher. The ending was like all time bad. I hate endings like that, where like you throw the ref down and you're going to, because you knew as soon as you did that the DQ was coming, and it was just a crap ending. But I gave it 1.5.
Okay. The sad part about this match is it could have been better, but they also had a pretty decent build going into the show for it. So if you ever watch 84, it's hard to sometimes watch these matches without context of what led to it. But if you actually go back and watch some November 84, October 84 leading to this, it sets up all these matches really nicely and would probably disappoint you even more based on how they built them. So anyway, so we're going to go to our next match, which is for the World Tag Team titles. It is the Russians, Nikita and Ivan, versus Ole Anderson and Keith Larson. So an interesting Ole Anderson face that we're not used to seeing face Ole Anderson, because we've been seeing him as a heel, and we know he turns face later on down the road and what we'll see. But so the story behind this, and Dr. G, I'm curious if you remember this, is that Keith Larson is actually the brother of Don Kernodle, and the Russians turn on Don Kernodle after he and Ivan lost the tag team titles to Manny and Dusty Rhodes in a cage match, and they turned on him and they injured him and laid him up. And obviously you see Don Kernodle out here on his crutches. But Keith Larson supposedly kept his name Larson because he didn't want to ride the trail of the great Kernodle name, which I found really funny. So anyway, Ole, he got himself a partner and got Ole Anderson to come in and fight the Russians tonight for the World Tag Team title. So Dr. G, I'll ask you because you're more familiar with this time frame. Any recollection of this whole Ole and Keith Larson tag team going into this tonight?
Sad to say, I do not remember Keith Larson at all. As a matter of fact, when you sent over the thing, I'm like, who the heck is Keith?
Well, that's why I set it up, because people are going to be like, why the hell did he put a Keith Larson match on this? This is why.
Shawn, I do not remember. I don't even remember that name.
Wow.
I don't know why.
You will know him as Rocky Kernodle later on. You know who Rocky Kernodle is? That's Don Kernodle's brother. He will change his name to Rocky.
Okay, I do kind of remember that name, but I do not remember Keith Larson. So it was very surprising to me, but it'll be interesting when we start breaking down the match.
Well, it would not be the last time you will hear the name Keith Larson on this show, because in our podcast coming up next month, after we do Starrcade 85, I believe he's in another match that we'll look at. But he is Rocky Kernodle. He is Don Kernodle's brother. He is here to fight for his brother, who was injured by the Russians when they lost the tag team titles to Rhodes and the Bull. So we'll get it started. Loud USA chants as Keith and Ole head to the ring. Don is out. He has a flag, and he's injured. He's on crutches. Sully says, like I said earlier, Keith didn't want to ride his brother's coattails, so hence the name difference versus Kernodle. If you watch 84 Mid-Atlantic, this is a big grudge match here, which is really interesting. So the rush is out to the music from, I call this Red Dawn movie music. Have you ever seen the movie Red Dawn, Calum Koloff?
I have not. No.
Okay. Well,
unfortunately.
So basically the Russians come and invade the entire country and take over the U.S. in that movie. And there's a group of teenagers named the Wolverines that destroy all the Russians. What do you think about that?
I'm not happy at that.
All right. So anyway, the music is great value Red Dawn movie music. Ivan holds a USA folded flag low and raises the Russian flag high, which I thought was really great heel work there. Not totally disrespecting the U.S. flag, but also kind of signifying that Mother Russia was more important to him. So I kind of like that. I thought that was a nice little simple thing they did there. So all four brawl to start. Nikita's tossed outside by Ole. Larson works over Ivan and hits a backdrop and drop kicks, and Ivan is then ping-ponged by the faces, taking punches where they do that back-and-forth punch thing. There's quick tacks between the faces, working Ivan's arm. Ole body slams Ivan on his arm. I always like when he does that little hammer lock thing, and then he body slams him on their arm. And then there's really long arm work on Ivan by faces. Some might say it's too long, but Ole does a nice job. Ole always does a nice job making his limb work look really good, and I thought his arm work to Ivan looked really, really great. It was typical Anderson pick the part and go to work kind of scenario. Ivan later hits Larson with a knee on a charge, but goes up top and gets slammed. Again, there's more long arm work by the faces. Ivan gets out with an eye rake and Ole, and finally tags Nikita. Nikita's shoulder blocks and bear hug, which is really long. Larson tries to come in, but the ref sends him back, allowing Ivan to hit Ole while still in the bear hug. Ole escapes by using the old head clap on Nikita's head, but Ivan tags and gets a back elbow and body slam. Koloff tags back in, and there's another bear hug, so too many bear hugs tonight. Ole escapes and tags Larson, goes to town on both Koloffs, but Nikita gets a choke, one of those he grabs him by the throat and chokes him down to the mat. I think, guys, if you remember when we were doing an interview with Nikita, he talked about how his original finisher was going to be the Russian Hammer. I think this is what that was, where he takes that choke and slams him down to the mat like that. So I think that was what he did. Ivan tags in, works over Larson, but Larson gets a small package for 2. Nikita stops it, but Ole runs in and attacks Nikita. And then on the outside, Nikita nails Don with a sickle, which was awesome. Ole runs outside, and they fight outside while Rush distracted by all this. Ivan grabs a Russian chain, clocks Arson with it, and ref counts to 3. The Russians go to beat up the faces some more, but Don's in with his crutch for the save. all honesty, it had its slow parts. And, I appreciated Nikita in his interview. He talked about how he didn't really know anything at this point in time, and he was still learning. I think that's why there were so many bear hugs in this match. Of course, I did like the sickle, but Nikita didn't get to do very much here. But I love me some Ole body picking, and the crowd was hot. I went 2.5 for not really knowing who the hell Keith Larson was, and I love me some Ole. I love me some Ivan. I went 2.5. Dr. G, what'd you think on this match?
I agree. I went 2.5 as well because, I really thought that, when I was like Keith Larson with Ole Anderson, but they actually didn't work too bad together. That just shows you how good Ole was, especially as a tag team wrestler.
And I thought Keith did his part too. He wasn't terrible by any stretch.
No, not at all. Not at all. Like you said, there was some low points, but I thought for the most part, these guys put on a pretty decent match. I mean, you're right about Nikita. You could tell he definitely was still a little green here, but the things that he did do made an impact, and that's what I think they were trying to do when they were breaking him in. He's not going to do too much, but the stuff that he does do is going to make an impact. It's going to make a difference. So Ivan Koloff is, consummate professional, and again, he and Ole definitely made this match better than it looked like when you started seeing, okay, Keith Larson. But again, Keith Larson didn't do a bad job. I was impressed because I did not remember who he was. Like I said, yeah. I was sitting there shaking my head. I'm like, who the heck is Keith Larson? But now when you say Rocky Canerdle, I do remember that name.
Yeah, this match surprised me.
It did.
Yeah, it really surprised me. Jake, what did you think?
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I can't believe you guys would not be aware of Keith Larson, the Scandinavian connection, as Gordon tells us here. He was really funny in this match. Like you guys mentioned, to me, this was like the Ole show. He was the highlight of this whole match, and he was really awesome throughout. Not saying the other guys didn't carry their weight, but he just really stood out to me the whole time because he's kind of working face in this match. Am I reading this right? Like, they definitely, I'm assuming they're facing a Russian, so you kind of are de facto face no matter what. But it was interesting to me the way he's kind of working the Anderson sort of style, but tweaking it just a little bit to make it a little more babyface. So he's still doing his signature kind of like picking apart a limb sort of thing, but he's kind of doing it in a more face way. It was subtle, but I like the way he did it, and that's always great to me. Lots of really good like face shine in this match with Ole and Larson on the Koloffs, and even like you mentioned, having to go to the bear hug, but it still worked because you have Ole in the bear hug, and his selling is really awesome. Like, he does all the little things that work where you're trying to sell something like that could sell a move like a bear hug that could easily come off like super boring and plotting and kind of lose your attention. He makes sure that he makes it engaging in the way he sells. That was awesome. Which also, that's when we get the Gordon line where he said something about like because they're in the bear hug for so long, so he has to say something. He said something about lactic acid. He's like, when you get stuck on the bear hug and the lactic acid starts to build or something. It was the most Gordon Sully line ever.
Lactic acid.
Yeah. He's like, the lactic acid starts to build and you get fatigued or some crap like that. But yeah, just great energy. And the finish to me didn't hurt it. I know for some people it would be it's kind of a BS finish, but because the post match was kind of hot, it really didn't bother me. I thought everybody did their job well. So this was another 3-star tag match for me, which seems to be like my alignment when these sort of tag matches are 3 stars for me. So
yeah, you know what? You could probably convince me. You could probably convince me to this be a 3-star. By the way, Jake, because I really
Anderson Dust.
Yeah, Listen, and I was thinking that's why you were talking. And you remember how we talked about earlier with Harley Race? I was thinking to myself, holy shit, I'd love to see a match between Harley and Ole. Could you imagine what a throwdown that might be? That would have been awesome to see that. But anyway, Calum, your thoughts on this tag match?
Yeah, I thought it was good. Knowing what we know now, after it still sounds a bit strange to say this. After we spoke to Nikita, knowing what we know now, you can see why there was a lot of bear hugs, and it was kept. It was kept out of the match. And it was a lot of the heat was put on Ivan. From to be involved in a match at this level with 5 months experience, is quite a testament to how well he was going. Ole is great, as everyone said. You're not going to hear any Ole slander from me. I just wish, and watching this match, I just wish if one thing could have changed, if Keith Larson had been swapped with Arn Anderson, if you had the Andersons and the Russians, oh my God!
I thought about that too.
Could you imagine David Crockett if that was the case? I mean, my God Almighty! I popped massively because I could see it happening because they panned out and then you see Nikita run. I'm like, here he goes, and he sickles Kernodle on the outside. I loved that. You might have heard me popping from where you are just now. Yeah, I thought it was a good match. I enjoyed it. I gave it 2.25. I think I enjoyed the match more than it was. I thought the match was good, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's certainly not awful compared to what we've already seen.
I feel like Calum's going a little low on matches tonight. It's that Wahoo hate, man.
Wahoo's nowhere near.
Oh wait! We got 2 more matches, and then we get to the best Wahoo match ever. So I'm looking forward to this. So let's get to the next one. All right. So our next match is kind of it's one of those ones you don't hear a whole lot about, but I know it made a lot of people's greatest NWA WCW matches ever, and it's Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Tully Blanchard for the TV title. And the build to this was really, really good. I think he attacked Steamboat in his gym. He attacked him in the ring, and the build for this was really, really great. And it really set up Steamboat probably to take the title from Tully. So this is an interesting match. So the other note I made in this is a lot of the faces that you see coming out tonight, they're in like these generic jackets with their names on the back of them. And the other note I made is Ricky at least was a little different as he had one of the lays around his neck. But other than that, I feel like all the faces come out in the same jacket, just with different names on the back of them. Tully is out in a black sequined robe, which I think we've seen this robe probably several times on our watch that we've talked about in many of his many fashion roles. And then Dr. G, the other note I made to ask about you was this TV title sure looked a lot like a Memphis Southern looking style, like with that little short circle in the middle with the strap. What'd you think of this TV title belt?
Yeah, or it looked like the Southern Heavyweight Championship in Florida, too. I know that Memphis had their own Southern Heavyweight Championship. But
they both look exactly the same.
I don't remember the belt looking like that. I don't remember the TV belt looking like that.
This is what it was before the Crockett. Basically, they got the new belt after we started the pod. They actually, if you remember, many moons ago when we did one of our earlier pods. They actually did a presentation to Dusty with the new TV.
Dusty Rhodes, yep.
Yeah, this is what it looked like. This is what it looked like before then.
Yeah, it's funny because I had a note about to talk about because we're belt junkies, so I was like, wow, this is a horrible looking, and I like the Southern Heavyweight Championship, but for the TV belt, the World TV belt, I thought it needed to be a little bigger,
Yeah, it didn't look like much, right? It's like, okay, yeah, it's kind of an underwhelming looking belt, but anyway, we'll jump in. So Tully wastes no time punching and elbowing. Steamboat fires right back, hits punches, chops, suplex. 2 more running chops for 2 into a rear chin lock. Tully gets the rope and then misses an elbow, but Steamboat takes him back down with a knee shot. Tully gets upper hand working Steamboat's ribs. Steamboat does a nice spot when he's in the corner and locks his legs around Tully's head and drops one of his legs on his noggin, which I thought was pretty cool. Ricky with more chops and another chin lock. Tully gets to the ropes, flips over it while Steamboat's still holding him. Knees him into ribs to break it, which I thought was a really cool looking move and heel move that Tully did. And I made a note here that Tully is just so good as a heel. Tully hits a back suplex after more stalling. Steamboat hits a power slam for 2. More chops and punches, knee to the back of the head. Steamboat at this point spits super harshly in Tully's face, which was pretty intense not really a truly babyface move, but in current times of the world to see him spitting like that in Tully's face was kind of shocking. Blanchard at this point is bleeding. Steamboat with more chops, a neck breaker, and hits a fantastic slingshot suplex for 2. Does a drop kick and more chops to the head. Blanchester has a foreign object, misses. A swing from apron, and Steamboat does the back suplex, but Tully clobbers him while up in the air. So that similar move that Savage did to Tito when he won the title, where they did that back suplex off the apron and hit him. Anyway, Tully clobbers him while up in the air, but suplex still connects. Tully hides the object back in his pants. Tully hits a running body press for 2, goes for superplex. Steamboat pushes him off. Steamboat does a top rope splash for 2. Steamboat goes for a sunset flip, but ref is down by the ref goes down by Steamboat's shoulder, and Tully grabs an object from his tights, clocks Steamboat for 3. So I kind of thought this was far-fetched. I mean, the ref was right there in front when Tully was grabbing in his pants and Tully smacked Steamboat, so I thought it was kind of far-fetched that the ref would miss it. But nonetheless, even though that was a stretch, and this is Tommy Young, but Tommy Young, they call him the greatest referee in the world, but obviously he has a lot of problems, and most of the matches that end screwy are because of his idiousness, I guess I would call it. But anyway, the match was awesome. Steamboat was awesome on the offense, and Tully is an absolutely amazing heel. I went 4 stars on this. Jake, what'd you think?
Yeah, I'm not far behind you. I went 3 3/4. Yeah, this is a great match. It's just like two guys who do all the little things that get you invested in the match. Like, like Tully going after the ribs, and just everything they do looks good. They both lay their stuff in where it looks good. They both sell well. I really like in this match, and I love in any match whenever they sell like exhaustion when the match has been going on for a while and it feels earned. And I think because they are so good, it does feel earned when they get towards the kind of the ending stages of the match, and they're both like looking a little bit punch drunk. I always like that sort of thing, and it just escalates well. It's just an awesome battle between two greats. Like you said, they probably are capable of something better, and maybe the finish wasn't the greatest in the world, but it's a hot match. It's really good. It's just two, like I said, the main thing, I was watching this and you just see all the little things that these two guys do that like kind of separate guys who are good to like the all-time greats, and both of these guys are. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I went 3 3/4.
Okay, Calum, your thoughts?
I thought it was really good as well. Different to go back and see Tully being dominant, because obviously he's dominant here, and then when we start our run, he's a bit chicken shit and fluking wins, and now he's gone back to more dominant Tully. When you have guys as good as these two, I think they would need to try harder to have a bad match than have a good one, because I think having a good match with these two guys would just be like a natural thing for them. Tully's Tully's slingshot suplex was the second best one I've seen in 2021, behind the one he did a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Absolutely great match. Well worthy of everyone putting on their GWCW list. I went 3.5 on it.
All right. And Dr. G, what'd you think?
I also went at 3.5 on this. Again, just two consummate professionals. You knew you were going to get a good match. I agree with you, Calum. Like, I think it would be harder for them to do a bad match. They would have to work hard at that. Even on their worst day, they probably would still, do a 2.5 star match. That's how good these guys are. And again, Ricky Steamboat just really over. I mean, the fans absolutely love him. Doesn't do anything for me on interviews, but in the ring, he definitely could do it all. And I enjoyed this match. I was really happy to watch. I hadn't seen it in a long time, so I was kind of really glued to the screen watching this one.
Yeah, I'm surprised you got it 3.5. I guess that for me, I thought that was kind of low. When I compared it to Flair's match, and it's hard for me to say because I really like this match, but I almost have it over the Flair match just for me because of how the ending of the Flair match was, and the ref stuff with Kaniski. But I mean, we can talk about it at the end with our awards. But yeah, nonetheless, a great match, really good match between Ricky Steamboat, who I've been critical of, and I've already admitted I love the guy. I'm just very critical of one match in particular that really wasn't any fault of his own. And Tully, again, kind of shows that even back in '84, before we were watching our timeline, was still a great freaking heel. So, all right, we have 2 matches left. So now we're going to go to our U.S. title match that I expect great things.
Do we have to?
We have to. I expect great things for Calum McDougal on this match. So the U.S. title match is Wahoo McDaniel versus Superstar Billy Graham. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, Superstar Billy Graham is supposed to be the face in this match. So we're going to jump right into it. First off, Graham comes out to terrible dubbed music, just awful. And the first note I make is, how is he the face in this? It's just unbelievable. He's in his karate gimmick at this point, and I think at this point, I just think he's awful. My hope at this point was for Calum to see a good Wahoo match, because I really do want Calum, all joking aside, to see a really great Wahoo match so he could see why a lot of people might have liked him in the past. Unfortunately, tonight's matches aren't going to do that for us, and this one certainly is not. So, so here we are. We have a test of strength. Doesn't seem like a not good strategy for Wahoo to do this with Grams, but Wahoo turns it on Grams, and Grams face pulls him down by his hair, which was really funny considering that he's supposed to be the face. Wahoo rakes eyes with his thumb, hits chops and punches. Grams makes lots of noises. Graham tosses Wahoo to the corner and gets a full Nelson. Wahoo gets to the ropes. Graham sends Wahoo into the ropes and hits a double hand to throat and karate poses. Another full Nelson, back elbow off ropes for 2. Graham gets a shoulder block. Wahoo back up, hits a chop for the poorest excuse of a 3 count I have ever seen in my life. And I wrote, what the fuck was this? This was a complete another dud with probably one of the worst pinfalls I have ever seen in my entire life. Calum McDougal, feel free to go to town on this match.
My first note on it was absolutely dreading this, and then it's like this match had no redeeming qualities whatsoever.
Zero.
And you could probably say the only good thing about it was short. I still think at less than 4.5 minutes it was still too long. It's just there was nothing happened. It was just like chop, punch, Irish whip. Billy Graham couldn't run the ropes. Wahoo couldn't bump. It was just, and then that finish. I mean, there's bad finishes. I didn't particularly like the finish to the Dick Slater match. This one was just it was a chop. But how was this chop more deadly than all the other chops he did? Because that's the only move he did was a chop. There was no wrestling moves in it at all. There might have been a body slam. No, there wasn't even a body slam in it. That would be asking too much of these two. I'm speechless as to how bad it was. Some might say it was awful. Some might say. Some people around here might say it was shite. There's only one word to describe this: atrocious. It is the biggest dud I have ever seen, and hopefully this match, in the transition to Peacock, hopefully this match doesn't make it across so we can save the pain from other people having to watch this. It was awful.
Yeah, I have nothing else. I agree with you, and it's unfortunate. So put also in your thought process that Wahoo is holding the second most important championship in the entire organization right now, and this is the U.S. title match you get. It's absolutely unbelievable. Dr. G, what did you think?
0 stars, and it was awful. That's all I could really say about that. I mean, the thing is like you said, Wahoo's had some great matches, so and Superstar. I mean, he, I think. At this point, he really didn't have many good matches left in him. He left that in the WWF at the time. there just was nothing there. It was just like Calum said. It was what really happened in that 4 minutes. Not much. It was just plain awful. That's all I'm going to say about it. I don't think I think Calum put it perfectly put. I don't think there's anybody that could say it any better than what he said.
All right, Jake, anything else to add to this piece of shit?
Yeah, like I found especially after, because I watched these in the order we're doing it, but the juxtaposition of watching that Steamboat and Tully match and then watching this right after was just like, this is like the antithesis of that match. And then, like how I said, those guys did every little thing that like get you invested, where everything in this just looked like so fake and corny and stupid. And like the pin, like you said, Shawn, is just terrible. Even Gordon is like, the way he says, like, and he got the 3. Even he's like, I can't believe this just happened. Like, he has like that, like,
and
what are we
got
doing?
The 3.
Like, yeah,
so
he's like, and he, yeah, he was like, and he got the 3. Is that really how he got the 3? Did this really happen? Yeah, it's a 0 star. It's a dud. It has nothing redeeming. It sucks. It's bad.
It might be the single worst match we have ever watched on this show, and that includes every Jimmy Valiant match I can think of, just to be perfectly clear. So Wahoo does not redeem himself in Calum's eyes in this watch tonight. So that legendary take so far will continue on Wahoo for the foreseeable future. Maybe one day we'll change your mind, Calum, but I totally understand why tonight we did not. So you win the battle tonight. You have not won the war yet, though.
Well, you say that, but I mean, the matches are getting progressively worse.
Don't worry, we got some coming up that I think might stand a shot at redeeming some of it, at least.
Okay. I look forward to them.
All right, so we're gonna go to our final match of the night. It is for the World Heavyweight Championship. It is the Nature Boy Ric Flair versus Dusty Rhodes. This is a title match with Smokey Joe Frazier as the ref, and it is for $1 million. So a loud fireworks boom goes off, signals our main event. Dusty is out in a lavender sequined road with a hoodie to some of the worst, awful pan WWE Network music I have ever heard. I put love-making music, and to me it was like I wasn't sure how this music really screamed Dusty Rhodes to me. It just seemed really out of context. I know
it sounded like something Rick Rude would walk out to.
Correct, and I know you guys will probably have more to say on that music when you talk about it, but yeah, terrible. It just doesn't make any sense. So Flair's out in a pink and striped robe. But yeah, so this looks really, really great. I'm sorry, pink and striped gray sequins on it. Bob this cracks me up. Bob and Gordon both point out that Dusty is fat, but do it in a nice way. Then say Dusty has gained some strength from it, which I almost sounded comical that they were making fun of how big he was, and then they kind of turn around and try to say, but he's gained strength from being fat. But they were trying to be nice, but at the same time kind of taking pokes. It's kind of like a gorilla poke when he makes fun of people being big and large. It's kind of the same thing they did to him here, which I thought was funny.
He's been lifting the heavy weights, they said.
Yes. It was cracking me up. So Dusty with the early shoulder block, a bionic elbow in the headlock. Flair with chops, and then Dusty does Dusty punches, and then back to another headlock. Flair throws Dusty to the ropes with another shoulder block, a bionic elbow. Flair later gets control and hits a knee, but misses another one, and Dusty gets a figure 4, which is broken by the ropes. Rhodes starts working the leg. Flair punches out. Later in match, Rhodes hits a press slam, chops and elbows. Does the Flair throw into the corner over the top spot. Flair is suplexed in the ring by Dusty, but Frazier was trying to break it up, which I didn't really understand. He does the world's worst 2 count here. More chops, another Dusty shoulder block. Flair does a back elbow on Dusty and goes to top rope, but is tossed off. Flair gets a sleeper on the recovery, and Dusty charges the ropes, sends Flair through and into the floor. Flair pulls Dusty outside, sends him to the ring post, and Dusty's got a really sick cut above his eye. Flair works the eye, and then here we go. Frazier starts looking into the eye, so you kind of know where it's going to go. Flair attacks Dusty, but Joe pushes him off. Joe, then out of the blue, just stops the match. Dusty is livid. The faces have to come in and hold him back from going after Frazier. The eye cut was absolutely sick, and I thought the match actually sucked. I thought the finish sucked. In the post-match, Flair gloats Dusty with a towel over his eye, looking ridiculous, goes apeshit on Frazier and Flair. Yeah, I went 1 1/4 on this for a Starrcade main event. I thought this was terrible. Not much really happened. Terrible ref again ruins the match for us, and it was just a way out to keep Flair on the belt and make Dusty look strong. Dr. G, what'd you think on this match?
Not one of their best efforts. I went on 1.5. You know, it's funny. This reminds me, my first wrestling match ever that I went to go see, the first main event, was Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes, and it was stopped because Ric Flair got the microphone stand and started pounding Dusty in the arm, and his arm was like, bleeding profusely, and the referee stopped the match. And it did just kind of reminded me of that. And this was not too much after this. I think I was either 82, 83 when I actually went and saw that match. And it was very underwhelming. And then to have Joe Frazier, and then they were interviewing him, and he was awful. And it's just,
I always thought they were setting something up with Dusty and Frazier, and that never really came to be.
No, and you know what the thing is? The way when they interviewed the judges, all the judges, beforehand, that was Kyle Petty and or Richard Petty or who?
Yeah, it's one of those guys.
Yeah, and Joe Frazier and you could almost sense that that the match was going to be stopped. You know what I'm saying? The way they were interviewing them, like, they kept talking about it. Like, okay, well, and Joe's like, I'm going to make the final decision because I'm going to be the one closest in the ring. And, I don't know. It was just very underwhelming. I mean, and they've had a lot of great matches, Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes, but this certainly wasn't one of them. It was very disappointing with, supposedly the kayfabe $1 million and the championship belt on the line, and just didn't do much. And to stop the match because of bleeding, and then Dusty getting mad at Joe Frazier, and then that went up going nowhere. I don't know, just very underwhelming. And 1.5 stars is obviously nothing could be as bad as the past match we just did, the last match we did, but this was very underwhelming for a big main event. I mean, this match was supposedly one of the biggest things of all time, and they didn't really do justice for it.
Yeah, I think if I recollect on this show, we've watched one other Dusty Flair match from a Mid-South show that they did. And I remember not being super impressed with that match, and this one's worse. So my hope is we will get a Flair and Dusty match that we consider something that would be worthy of these two guys based on the rivalry we have. But I've been super disappointed by, at least the two matches I know we've watched in terms of what this rivalry is supposed to be. So hopefully Starrcade 85 will help us out a little bit with that. Jake, what do you think of this match?
Yeah, just to go off what you just said, I think there are some better ones, at least I've seen doing my GWCW down the line, so I'll keep my fingers crossed for you. I had the Dusty music as, like, to me it sounded like Boyz II Men, but yeah, it was very very odd. Like,
I'll Make Love to You by Boyz II Men music. That's what it reminded me of.
Which is weird because it didn't even seem of the time, much less it didn't fit Dusty, so real strange. And yeah, it's just, they really have to dump the special referee, because it's really, I mean, these are the first two main events of the first two Starrcades, and the referees are a major downside of both of them, because it's just also baffling. Like, to Dr. G's point, like how he mentioned that he saw something similar, like at a kind of a house show. That's kind of what this comes off as to me. It seems like a house show finish.
That's a good one.
You have. You know what I mean? Like, because you don't want anybody to lose, but it's not what you do on the biggest show of the year with this huge, all this hype and $1 million, and it's such a lame ending for $1 million. Like all this, and we get this kind of short match that never really got out of first gear. So I went 2 on it, but I'm in the same boat as you guys in that it kind of felt like the first act of what could have been a good match, but it's like they're still in first gear kind of, and the match just ends. And it's also odd to me because all you would have had to do to really turn this around is, and you almost feel, even it's obviously been a long time. We all know what's going to happen, but you almost like get this feeling like, well, he's got to come back in, right? They have to restart this, and then because I feel like if they restart it, then the crowd loses it. Like the crowd would be so hot because Dusty's going to come back and fight, even though he got his eye. Because like you said, Shawn, the blade job is brutal. Like it looks sick. Like it's a really awesome visual. So if he comes back in after he's busted like that, then I think you could have really had something worth the hype. To have Dusty come in and fight another, 5 to 10 minutes with his face busted open, I think would be cool. But as it was, it's baffling, really. So 2 stars and just super disappointing.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely disappointing. Calum, let's bring us home on the final match of the show tonight.
Well, I had a total Mandela effect incident because I was convinced for all the world that this was a cage match. I don't know why, but I have always thought that this was a cage match. It might have made a blood stoppage finish make a slightly more sense or slightly less sense, depending on your viewpoint on it. It was very, very underwhelming. It was just they were plodding along and they were hoping that it was just going to work because they were Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes, and these guys would hang on the crowd would hang on everything they did just because of who they were. A bit like the Mid-South match that we watched, and that was definitely the theme of that one, that they were just it was like a house show match hitting the greatest hits because they were Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes, and they were just pleased to be, like, the fans were pleased to be seeing them. Yep. The concept of the finish, I don't think is too bad with the blood stoppage. The only issue is it wasn't even the worst blood on the show. Manny Fernandez in the first match of the night bled a gusher. I counted, and even the matches that we watched, I counted 4 guys who bled even before Dusty had this finish. So if you're going to do a blood stoppage finish,
I think they tried to do it because of the cut above the eye. I think they were trying to sell the eye, and that was kind of why it stood out more than the others. I mean, it didn't work though. But go ahead.
And Jake. Like Frazier's like like Soli says something like, well, he's a boxing guy, so he's used to the rules of boxing or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good point too. So I think they tried to explain it off, but to your point, Calum, I think it failed.
Yeah, I mean, and it's to those points is why I don't have a problem with the finish in and of itself. It's just when you have 3 other matches and 4 other guys bleeding on the show, you run the risk of, because by the time that the match finished, the bleeding had almost stopped, and there was nothing left, or like there was barely anything left on his face, and they came out and they were wrapping it up as if he'd lost his eye. Like he'd just gone Vader and Stan Hansen, and his eyeball was hanging out his face. So if you're going to do the bleeding and the rest of the show, you run the risk that the earlier stuff overshadows this one. So again, that sort of brought it down again. I went 1.75. I thought it was really. I mean, it was a good enough match, but I thought it was really disappointing at the same time.
Yeah, I like the house show analogy. I think that kind of sums it up for me in terms of how the match came across versus the main event of your biggest show of the year. And again, we'll get another Dusty Flair match on our next episode, so we'll see how we all feel about it at that point as well. So. All right, so with that ends our watch. So hopefully everybody enjoyed our trip down memory lane of matches from the previous Starrcades that we didn't think we were going to cover, but I thought it made sense as we head into Starrcade 85 on our next episode. So we'll do our awards now. Best match, I will go to Jake first. What was your best match?
I'm going to go with Flair Harley by a hair over Tully and Steamboat.
Okay. Calum?
Yeah, same here.
And Dr. G?
Same here.
All right, so I'm going to disagree with all 3 of you. I went with Steamboat and Tully because of the finish and the refereeing in Harley Flair, but I also see why people would pick Harley and Flair, so I'm not going to argue the point, but I went with Steamboat and Tully. All right, worst match. I never in a million years would have thought I would have voted against anything with Jimmy Valiant in it, but I went with Wahoo versus Billy Graham. Is it safe to say all of us selected that as worst match tonight?
You got it.
Yep.
Oh, you know I did.
All right. MVP. I'm curious to think what you guys think of MVP. Calum, who was your MVP tonight?
I picked, despite not being in my my choice for best match, my MVP is Tully Blanchard.
Okay. Dr. G?
I went with this was
It's not easy.
it is
in some ways, but it's not in others.
You know what I'm gonna go with on this though is Ole, because I thought Ole really did a great job in that match with a partner we weren't expecting to do anything in Keith Larson. So I really like that Ole, is just a consummate tag team guy, and he made it work. Like you thought those guys were teaming forever. They had a chemistry that looked like they were teaming together. Obviously not as great as a chemistry with Arn or when he was with Gene Anderson, but he definitely did a really good job. So I'm going to go with Ole as my MVP.
I think Ole is a solid pick. I won't dispute that. Jake, what'd you think?
Yeah, I got to go with the tried and true Flair. I thought in the cage match he was just incredible.
Okay. And I actually agree with Calum. I also went with Tully. I thought that match was great. I thought Tully was a great heel. And again, I don't dispute any of them. Flair, Ole, Tully. It's interesting that all of us picked MVPs that are members of the Four Horsemen. So nice symmetry there, I guess. That truly probably says that they are the best of the best at what they do when we get to when they form that team. All right, LVP. No brainer for me on this one, but Calum, I'll go to you first.
Wahoo. Always Wahoo.
All right, Dr. G.
I'm going to go with Graham. Superstar Billy Graham.
Wow. And Jake?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Graham too.
All right. Well, unfortunately, I'm going to agree with Calum. I am going with Wahoo because 2 matches tonight. He showed absolutely nothing really of merit, and just a really disappointing, 2 matches from him. So I got to go with Wahoo too. So Calum, I agree with you on Wahoo tonight, and that breaks my heart. So, most surprising. Wow. Yeah. Well, yeah, I know that's big, but this just goes to show.
And you have a Steamboat match that was rated over. I mean, okay. Wow.
So what tonight's show has shown is Shawn can be balanced in his opinions and not always give shit takes. He is fair. That's what that should show for everybody listening to this, but it won't because everybody's going to say the same thing about Shawn anyway. But yes, best with the Steamboat, LVP Wahoo. It's unbelievable. I can't believe I did it myself. All right, most surprising. For me, the most surprising was the Orton-Slater tag team match. I thought they were a great team. The match surprised me, and that was tough because I almost went with the Russians tag, but I had to go with Orton-Slater. I wanted more of Orton-Slater as a team. Dr. G, what was your most surprising of the night?
Ole and Larson was kind of surprising, but and again, I had a tough time with this one, but I liked Slater and Orton. But I thought Slater and Orton could have made a really great world tag team champions. So I'm gonna go with them. They're just gonna edge them out a little bit in Ole and Larson because I love the teamwork by Slater and Orton, and they saved that match. So that's my pick.
Agreed, Jake. Most surprising.
Yeah, close to you, Shawn, but I'm going to specifically go with Slater through both of these shows. So I really didn't have much expectation, but I liked what I saw from him in both showings, even though the one match was kind of disappointing. He was still pretty good.
All right, and Calum?
I've gone for Wahoo and Graham for making a match worse than I had even thought was possible.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
Wow.
You just want to take that knife and shove it in my back even further. That's what you're doing.
Oh no, I'm doing it right to your face, Shawn.
All right. Oh, you son of a bitch. Oh, you son of a bitch.
He's a Koloff, remember?
He is a damn Koloff. I expected you to cut a promo as a Koloff when you did that.
I mean, I can if you want.
No, I'm done with you tonight. So, we're gonna move on and we're gonna end the pod. So, again, guys, thank you for taking this journey of 83 and 84 with me and Starrcade. Jake, as always, great having you on the show. and your insights, and thank you for kind of doing it as a last-minute addition. So really, really appreciate it. And then, yeah, so guys, our next episode, we are finally at the big one. We're at Starrcade 85. You know, everything we've been building up to over the last 8 months on this pod since we started in April 85 has led to this. So really, really looking forward to it. And we will have our special guest, the real pod father that's out there, Scott Criscola, will join us for the next episode so we can talk.
I hope you're adding an extra half hour, 45 minutes on this.
Well,
show.
I mean, it would be, well, honestly, people would expect that anyway. I think this show runs short tonight. We're going to be under 2 hours, so I think people would be surprised at that, but it's fine. I know it's one of Scott's all-time favorite shows, and we will definitely indulge the podfather who allows us to do this pod on the feed, so I am not going to complain about that at all. But, Dr. G, feel free to kind of do some of that sparring you like to do on Saturday special.
Oh, we have a good time. Oh, forget it. I'm going to abuse him next week.
It should be interesting with you and him and me and Calum going at it. It'll be a nice little symmetry of a feud there going on. So
we'll have a good time.
So before we go, Jake, anything you would like to plug?
Yeah, I'll plug the Ruthlessly Aggressive podcast over the North-South feed. I'm getting very, very close to SummerSlam 2002, which is kind of a milestone show and considered one of the greatest of all time. And the build is really good, which is what I'm kind of going through right now. So go ahead and check that out. And then on this very feed, you can check me out on PTB NXT. And Shawn, you are with me on Highway to the Impact Zone. So.
Yes, all great shows that Jake is on and Jake does. Ruthlessly Aggressive, again, I'll say it again, one of my favorite shows on all the feeds, so definitely give that one a listen. Dr. G, anything on your end?
Yep, we got the NWA Saturday special every Saturday morning. It drops at 9 a.m. And now that we're getting some real NWA, current NWA stuff, we'll have a lot to talk about. We'll be finishing up our GWCW ballot. And we got a lot of great stuff in store. And I can't wait to talk about Back for the Attack, which is coming up in a few weeks.
Yep, the new NWA is back, so look forward to hearing more about that and the pay-per-view coming up. I know me and Calum have already ordered it, so we're looking forward to that as well. So
we got it as well, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right, excellent. And Calum McDougal, or should I say Calum Koloff, anything you would like to plug?
Well, yes. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we've released the February edition of the Special Relations, which in itself, I believe, went under 2 hours, which is extremely rare for us. I think it might be the first time ever it's gone under 2 hours. That was a good one. We trialed some new features, but without losing any of the, I think I opened it up by saying where preparation isn't necessary, and it's certainly on show again in that one. I have yesterday on as we record yesterday on Twitter, I announced that we're going to do the first ever double Twitch on the 21st of March for Back for the Attack and Fastlane. I know which one of them I'm looking more forward to. So yeah, just give us a follow on Twitter at Calum7McDougal for myself, or at the PTBN YouTube for the stream information, and twitch.tv/place2be nation as well, where I started and I'm going to keep going with hopefully get the Scott Steiner Here Comes the Pain season mode going again, but definitely taking my cousin Nikita Koloff to the 10 pounds of gold on Retromania Wrestling.
I'm looking forward to Retromania actually coming out on a console because I'm dying to play that game because it looks really, really fun.
It is great fun. I think I played maybe 10 matches and went a stellar 1-9. I won my first match and then lost every single one after that. But it's really difficult, but it's great fun. So
I don't think winning one match out of 10 is a good representation of the Koloff dynasty, Calum.
Well, the one match I won was with Nikita.
Of course it was. All right. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at NWA Crock and Roll. I also do a pod over on the Pop feed, Battlestar in the 25th Century, where Scott Shiflett and I are rewatching Battlestar Galactica and Buck Rogers. Scott has never seen any of these shows, so I'm kind of his guide through those, so we have a lot of fun on those. Jake already brought up Highway to the Impact Zone. You can also find me on Chicken Salad. The next episode will be WrestleMania 27 on that. And yeah, so a lot of great things going on. Please listen to all the pods, all the feeds, and everything that's going on across, I guess, what Scott calls the quad of pods, or to quote the Podfather. But we will thank you guys for joining us tonight. We hope you've enjoyed the last few weeks of content. The Nikita interview tonight. We're going to wrap up the month of March with Starrcade 85 on the next episode, and we have a lot of great things coming up over the next few months. We get to look at December. We get to look at January. We get to look at February. We got Battle of the Belts. We have Battle of the Belts 2. We have Superstars on a Superstation. And we have a very special pod where we're going to go back and look at matches that we call unwatched that have happened over the course of our pod that we haven't necessarily watched yet or seen, that we're going to all watch together for the first time. And I think that was a big hit when we went back and looked at DiBiase versus Flair. So we decided to do a whole show based on matches like that. So please join us. A lot of great things coming up through the summer here on NWA Crock and Roll. And we love doing the pod, and we love doing it for you guys. So with that, everybody have a good night. I'm Shawn Kidd for Calum Koloff, Dr. G, and Jacob Williams. Goodbye, everybody.